Hi everyone. Um, Today I want to continue to discuss this book, The Nine, and the one I was mentioning. Um, but I want to discuss a specific case. It's called United States versus Lopez, which was the case in 1995. Um, that was decided in 1995 on Supreme Court, but only in March on um, 1992, March 10, a high school student took a gun to the school in Texas, and he was arrested because there is state and federal law. It's called Gun Free School Zones Act of 1990. So he was arrested by state authorities, but he was released, and but then he was again arrested and sentenced by federal because there's um, the Gun Free School Zones Act of 1990 said you cannot bring the gun in school um, in within 1,000 feet within the school or in the school settings uh, or in the school vicinity. He was sentenced. The case went all the way to Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court, because dominantly, Supreme Court at that time was dominated by Republican justices. So they decided that the law that Congress enacted, called Gun Free School Zones Act of 1990, was invalid law based on a commercial clause that United States Congress violated the statute, violated the commercial clause um, of the United States, which um, United States Congress can enact laws or statutes that within commercial clause. That means something that is interstate, something that it affects interstate commerce, or some kind of transaction that involves state to state, and commerce clause can actually, based on a commerce clause, United States Congress can enact certain laws um, to regulate certain activities within the state. Now, the question in this case in the United States v. Lopez is that carrying a gun in school, does that mean that does that mean the case in that case does that mean um, it violated carrying that gun? It violated the that law, but the problem with that is that Congress um, did not. Court found the case and invalidated the Gun Free School Zones Act based on commerce clause. That is, the court did not find a nexus or connection between commerce activity and carrying gun in school. Now, there's been a different argument. That say things like, oh well, bringing a gun in school zone or having any kind of violence will affect the commerce. People won't be moving in the area or moving in that state because it's violence and all that. But still, the courts found that. So it is very courts found that under commerce clause, Congress could not enact such law, and therefore invalidated the law. So it is very interesting, and this is where the case in this book it's been discussed in length by this author Jeffrey Toobin on the issue, and it is very interesting what he has to say, because the separation of powers, besides the justices argued back and forth whether it is commerce activity or not, was actually irrelevant. But so on April 26, 1995, the court ruled 5-4 that Congress had violated the Commerce Clause in passing the Gun-Free School Zone Act. Rehnquist's opinion, joined by O'Connor, Scalia, Kennedy, and Thomas, represented the first time since 1935 that justices had invalidated a law on the grounds that Congress exceeded its authority under the Commerce Clause. Well, what the author is trying to say here in this issue is that this has all been political, and because Republicans want to have stronger sense of what's it called? The Supreme Court should have that kind of authority to invalidate, and which they did. So I think you should look up United States versus Lopez and Commerce Clause. You can look it up and find out more about it on Cornell Law School, which is very interesting. It has very interesting information. So I'll just give a quick overview. It says the Commerce Clause refers to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the United States Constitution, which gives Congress the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations among the several states and with Indian tribes. Congress has often used the Commerce Clause to justify exercising legislative power, meaning legislative power to enact laws to control or to guide human behavior within the states. So in this case, where the courts found, oh well, federal government, United States Congress did not have the power. It was unconstitutional based on a Commerce Clause to enact a law that has nothing to do with commerce. Meaning, the Commerce Clause has to give a constitutional power to Congress to enact law that in effect affects commerce. But gun violence and carrying the gun has certain impact on commerce, because guns are being bought, and that is also bought and sold. We don't know where the gun came from or how he got it, or whether it was bought from another state to that state or anything like that. But I think the Congress should have that kind of power under Commerce Clause, because it does affect commercial activity between states, because it creates violence. People do not want to move in a neighborhood. It does not create safe environment. People do not want to buy or visit that place. So there's many reasons why, or move to that school or anything like that. Well, please let me know what you think about United States v. Lopez. And that's all for right now. Thanks.